In the sweltering summer of 1975, the nation of Arvia teetered on the brink of collapse, ravaged by a brutal civil war. The Loyalist army, sworn to uphold the government, clashed relentlessly with rebel factions, seeking to seize power through chaos and bloodshed. Villages burned, fields lay fallow, and the air carried the acrid scent of gunpowder. Amid this turmoil, Judy Lynn, a 22-year-old woman who uses a wheelchair, clung to a flicker of hope. Once the radiant star of the Loyalist Cultural Troop, a unit dedicated to boosting soldier morale through song and theater, she had captivated audiences with her grace. But a tragic accident 5 years prior, orchestrated by her adopted sister Emily, shattered her legs and her dreams, leaving her to navigate a world that seemed to have forgotten her. Judy's disability stemmed from a cruel betrayal. Emily, taken in by the Lynn family to honor her martyr parents who died saving Judy's parents during an earlier rebellion, coveted Judy's role in the cultural troupe. One fateful night, Emily pushed Judy down a flight of stairs, claiming it was an accident. The injury, compounded by deliberate medical sabotage from Judy's childhood friend Michael, a military doctor, ensured Judy would never walk again. Yet Judy's spirit remained unbroken. She toiled in the shadows, earning wages to support Emily's education, while her parents showered their adopted daughter with praise, blind to Judy's suffering. On a blistering July afternoon, Judy maneuvered her wheelchair through the dusty outskirts of Eldon, a loyalist stronghold, to buy supplies for her family. Her brother James, a regimental commander known for his ambition, and Michael, now head physician at the military hospital, rehearsed with Emily for a cultural troupe performance, neglecting their duties to Commander Elias, a revered loyalist leader. Elias, a grizzled veteran whose strategic brilliance held the army together, was inspecting defenses nearby. Unbeknownst to Judy, rebel spies had infiltrated Eldon, their eyes fixed on Elias. As Judy wheeled past a thicket, the crack of gunfire shattered the silence. Rebels burst from the bushes, their rifles trained on Elias's convoy. His bodyguard Logan, a stoic man haunted by losing his brother to a rebel ambush, fought fiercely to protect him. Elias, shot in the chest, slumped against a jeep, blood staining his uniform. The sight pierced Judy's heart. In her previous life, she had sought help from James and Michael. They saved Elias, earning promotions, but blamed Judy for Emily's death during a rehearsal mishap. Their betrayal culminated in horror. They mutilated Judy's limbs, accusing her of jealousy, and left her to die in a mass grave. Now, as screams echoed, Judy's eyes snapped open, her body trembling. She was reborn, thrust back to this moment of crisis. The searing pain of her past death lingered, but a fierce resolve surged within her. Heaven has given me a second chance, she thought, her hands gripping the wheelchair's rims. I won't let them destroy me again. Ignoring the terror clawing at her chest, Judy pushed forward, weaving through smoke and debris. Bullets whizzed past, but she fixed her gaze on Elias, his life fading with each labored breath. "Commander," she shouted, her voice hoarse but unwavering. Logan, startled, glanced at her, his rifle raised. Judy's wheelchair skidded to a halt beside Elias. A rebel aimed at his head, but Judy, with a surge of strength, threw herself forward, her body shielding him. The bullet grazed her shoulder, pain flaring, but she held firm. Elias's eyes, clouded with shock, met hers. "Why?" he rasped. Judy, panting, whispered, "Because it's right." Inspired by her courage, Logan dragged Elias behind a boulder, returning fire. Judy's mind raced. Her family's betrayal had crushed her in her past life, but now she saw a path to redemption. She knew a hidden cave nearby, a secret from her days exploring Eldon before her injury. If she could guide them there, Elias might survive, and she could expose the traitors who valued ambition over duty. As rebels closed in, Judy's heart pounded not with fear, but purpose. She was no longer the forgotten daughter, the disabled performer. She was a woman reborn, ready to defy fate and claim justice. The war-torn land of Arvia would bear witness to her sacrifice, and this moment would mark the beginning of her redemption. The air in Eldon was thick with smoke, the crack of gunfire, a relentless drumbeat in Judy Lynn's ears. Her wheelchair creaked as she gripped its rims, frozen at the edge of the battlefield where rebels had ambushed Commander Elias. Moments ago, she had been a 22-year-old woman running errands, her heart heavy with the weight of her family's neglect. Now her mind reeled, thrust back to this pivotal day in 1975, reborn from a past life of betrayal and pain. The searing memory of her death, her brother James and childhood friend Michael hacking off her limbs, their faces twisted with accusations, clawed at her chest. She trembled, her breath shallow as the chaos of Arvia's civil war unfolded. In her previous life, Judy had raced to the Loyalist Cultural Troop, where James, a regimental commander, and Michael, a military doctor, were rehearsing with her adopted sister, Emily. They had rushed to save Elias, earning promotions, but blamed Judy for Emily's fatal fall during a stage mishap. Their rage had turned monstrous. Believing Judy was jealous of Emily's role, they mutilated her, leaving her corpse in a mass grave, the memory of James's vicious glare. You held a grudge because Emily replaced you in Michael's red-eyed fury. It's your fault she died, burned like acid. Yet here she was alive again, the rebel soldiers emerging from the bushes, just as they had before. Judy's hands shook her shoulder, throbbing from the graze of a stray bullet. The pain anchored her, pulling her from the haze of trauma. She thought I was not that broken girl anymore, her eyes narrowing. Heaven has given me a second chance, and I won't waste it. The realization was a spark igniting a fire within her. In her past life, she had been a victim of Emily's sabotage, which crippled her legs, of her parents' favoritism, which stole her college dreams, of James and Michael's cruelty, which stole her life. This time, she would rewrite her story not as a pawn, but as a warrior. She scanned the battlefield. Elias slumped against a jeep, bled heavily, his bodyguard Logan firing desperately at the rebels. Judy's heart pounded not with fear, but with purpose. She knew the hidden cave, a relic from her childhood explorations before Emily's betrayal confined her to a wheelchair. If she could reach Elias and guide him there, he might survive. But doubt gnawed at her. What if I fail again, she wondered, her mind flashing to the mass grave, the cold earth swallowing her. She shook her head, clenching her fists. No, I failed because I trusted them. This time I trust myself. Judy's gaze fell on a rebel aiming at Elias's head. Her body moved before her mind caught up her wheelchair, lurching forward through the dirt. Logan, she shouted, her voice cutting through the gunfire. Logan, his face etched with grief from losing his brother to rebels, turned startled by her presence. There's a cave, 200 meters west, she yelled, pointing. It has a secret exit to Zach's base. Logan hesitated, then nodded, dragging Elias toward cover. Judy's chest heaved, her shoulder wound pulsing, but she felt alive, her resolve hardening like steel. As she wheeled closer, a rebel's rifle swung toward her. Without thinking, Judy threw herself from her wheelchair, shielding Elias as a bullet whizzed past. Pain flared, but she gritted her teeth, meeting Elias's shocked eyes. Go, she whispered. Logan, inspired, lifted Elias, sprinting toward the cave. Judy collapsed back into her chair, her vision swimming. She thought this was my fight now, her heart swelling with defiance. James, Michael, Emily, they'll answer for their sins. I'll save Elias and I'll save myself. The rebels advanced, their shouts echoing. Judy's hands tightened on her wheelchair, her mind clear. She wasn't just saving a commander, she was reclaiming her life. In this war-torn land, amidst the ashes of Arvia's hope, Judy Lynn was reborn, not as a victim, but as a force to be reckoned with, ready to defy fate. The battlefield in Eldon was a maelstrom of smoke and screams, the summer air of 1975, choked with the stench of gunpowder. Judy Lynn, her wheelchair creaking under the strain, pushed through the chaos of Arvia's civil war, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and defiance. Moments ago, she had been reborn, thrust back to the day rebels ambushed Commander Elias, the Loyalist Army's linchpin. Her shoulder throbbed from a grazing bullet, a stark reminder of her past life's brutal end at the hands of her brother James and childhood friend Michael. Yet Judy's resolve burned brighter than her pain. She had shielded Elias from a rebel's rifle, her body a barrier between him and death. Now she had a plan to save him and herself. Elias lay slumped against a boulder, blood seeping from his chest wound, his face ghostly pale. Logan, his bodyguard, fired at the advancing rebels, his eyes haunted by the loss of his brother to a similar ambush years ago. Judy, her voice steady despite the gunfire, shouted, Logan, there's a cave, 200 meters west. It has a hidden exit to Zach's base. Sweat streaking his face. Logan glanced at her, torn between duty and disbelief. You're sure? He asked, his voice gruff. Judy nodded, her mind racing with memories of exploring Eldon's hills before Emily's sabotage confined her to a wheelchair. It's our only chance, she said. Logan hoisted Elias, staggering toward the cave as Judy wheeled alongside, her arms burning with effort. Bullets whizzed past, one clipping her wheelchair's frame. Judy's heart lurched, but she pushed forward, her thoughts fierce. She vowed I wouldn't let them win, picturing James and Michael, who should have protected Elias but rehearsed with Emily at the cultural troop. In her past life, their rescue had earned them glory, while Judy paid the price, mutilation, and death blamed for Emily's fall. This time, she would steal their honor and expose their neglect. The cave's mouth loomed, a dark refuge amid the chaos. Logan dragged Elias inside, but Judy paused at the entrance, her breath ragged. Logan, the exit's 200 meters in, she said, her voice urgent. It leads to Lieutenant Commander Zach's base a mile north. Carry Elias there. Logan frowned, his rifle still raised. What about you? He asked. Judy's gaze hardened. She stripped Elias's bloodied uniform from his body, slipping it over her own. I'll stay, she said, grabbing Logan's pistol. The rebels think I'm him. I'll draw them off. Elias, barely conscious, gripped her arm. No, comrade, he rasped, his eyes wide with gratitude and fear. You can't stay. You're disabled, you'll die. Judy gave a faint, bitter smile, gesturing to her lifeless legs. I'm already a burden, Commander. I'll only slow you down. Go! Her words were firm, but inside doubt gnawed. Can I do this? She wondered, her hands trembling on the pistol. Then she thought of Emily, whose lies had stolen her legs, and James, whose ambition had crushed her. I have to, she resolved, her fear giving way to courage. Logan hesitated, then nodded, his face etched with respect. Hold on, comrade, he said, before disappearing with Elias into the cave's depths. Judy exhaled shakily alone, now the rebels' shouts growing closer. She adjusted Elias's uniform, its weight a symbol of her defiance. She once thought I was the cultural troop star, recalling her commanding stage days. Now I'll command this battlefield. She wheeled to the cave's mouth pistol, raised her heart a drumbeat of purpose. A rebel spotted her, mistaking her for Elias. There's the commander, he shouted, firing. Judy ducked her wheelchair, scraping the rock, and fired back the recoil, jarring her wounded shoulder. The shot missed, but it drew their focus. Keep them here, she urged herself, her vision sharpening despite the pain. She fired again, her hands steadier, each bullet a challenge to her past weakness. The rebels advanced their gunfire, relentless, but Judy held her ground, her courage a shield against the storm. Judy's thoughts turned inward as Logan and Elias exited the cave. This isn't just for Elias, she realized. It's for me to prove I'm more than their victim. The rebels closed in their bullets, a deadly promise, but Judy's resolve burned brighter. She was no longer the forgotten sister, the broken performer. She was a warrior reborn to defy fate, and would fight until her last breath. The cave's mouth in Eldon was a jagged scar against the smoke-choked battlefield, the summer of 1975, alive with the roar of Arvia's civil war. Judy Lynn, her wheelchair wedged against a rock, clutched Logan's pistol, her hands slick with sweat and blood. Clad in Commander Elias's bloodied uniform, she was a decoy drawing rebel fire to buy time for Elias and Logan to escape through the cave's hidden exit. Her shoulder burned from an earlier graze, her body trembling from the strain of her reborn mission. In her past life, her brother James and friend Michael had betrayed her, mutilating her for their gain. Now Judy fought not just for Elias, but also to reclaim her worth, her heart a furnace of defiance. Rebels swarmed the cave's entrance, their shouts piercing the gunfire. It's the commander, one yelled, mistaking Judy for Elias. Bullets ricocheted off the rocks, one slicing her arm. Pain seared through her, but she gritted her teeth, firing back. The pistol's recoil jolted her wounded shoulder, her aim unsteady from inexperience. She thought I was a performer, not a soldier, recalling her days commanding the Loyalist Cultural Troop's stage. But I can do this. Each shot was a rebellion against her past, against Emily, who crippled her, against James, who valued ambition over duty, against Michael, who sabotaged her healing. Judy's wheelchair scraped the ground as she maneuvered for cover. Her legs useless, a cruel reminder of Emily's sabotage 5 years ago. The rebels advanced, their rifles relentless. A bullet tore through her shoulder blade, soaking Elias's uniform. She gasped, her vision blurring, but her resolve held. Elias needs time, she thought, picturing Logan carrying him to Lieutenant Commander Zach's base a mile north. And I need to prove I'm more than their victim. She fired again, her hands steadier, the rebels hesitating under her unexpected resistance. Another bullet struck her abdomen, the pain like a sledgehammer. Judy doubled over, blood pooling beneath her, her wheelchair tilting. Not yet, she whispered, biting her lip until it bled, forcing herself upright. Her thoughts flashed to her past life's end, James's vicious accusation. You pushed Emily to her death, and Michael's rage hacking her limbs. They thought I was weak, she realized, her eyes burning with tears and fury. I'll show them strength. She fired her last bullets, the pistol clicking empty, the rebels now mere yards away. Judy's strength ebbed, her body screaming for surrender. Her vision swam the battlefield, a haze of smoke and shadows. Did I do enough? She wondered, her heart heavy with doubt. Then a distant roar cut through the chaos. Reinforcements. Lieutenant Commander Zach, a principled officer driven by his father's death in a rebel raid, charged in with Loyalist troops. His sharp eyes spotted Judy slumped in her wheelchair, blood streaming from her wounds. "Hold the line," he barked his soldiers, overwhelming the rebels in a storm of gunfire. Zack sprinted to Judy, his face pale with urgency. "Comrade, stay with me," he shouted, dropping to his knees. Judy's head lolled, her breath shallow. "Elias?" "Safe," she murmured, her voice barely audible. Zack knotted his hands, pressing against her abdominal wound. "Logan got him to the cave's exit. You saved him." Judy's lips curved in a faint smile, relief washing over her. "I did it," she thought, her mind drifting. "They can't take this from me." Logan emerged from the cave, his face etched with worry, and joined Zack. "She's a hero," he said, his voice thick, haunted by his brother's loss, but stirred by Judy's courage. Zack lifted Judy gently, her wheelchair abandoned, and carried her toward a medic's jeep. "Hang on, comrade," he urged. "Elias is alive because of you." Judy's consciousness flickered, her body a map of pain, but her spirit soared. She had faced the rebels, her past, and her fear proving her worth in blood and fire. As the medics rushed her to Eldon's military hospital, Judy's thoughts lingered on her betrayers. While absent during the ambush, James and Michael were with Emily, and their loyalty was misplaced. "They'll face justice," she vowed, her resolve unbroken despite her fading strength. Her bravery cost was steep, but Judy Lynn, reborn in the crucible of war, had ignited a spark that would burn through her enemies' lies, her sacrifice a beacon in Arvia's darkness. The military hospital in Eldon buzzed with urgency, its sterile halls a stark contrast to the blood-soaked battlefield of Arvia's civil war. Judy Lynn lay in a narrow bed, her body swathed in bandages, the summer heat of 1975 seeping through the windows. Her arm, shoulder, and abdomen throbbed from gunshot wounds, sustained while acting as a decoy to save Commander Elias. The pain was a constant reminder of her reborn mission, her second chance to defy the betrayals of her past life. In that life, her brother James and childhood friend Michael had mutilated her, blaming her for their adopted sister Emily's death. As Judy drifted in and out of consciousness, she clung to the spark of hope ignited by her sacrifice. Commander Elias, recovering in a nearby room, limped to her bedside, his chest wound bandaged, but his presence commanding. The grizzled veteran, whose strategic brilliance had held the Loyalist army together, gazed at Judy with gratitude and resolve. "You saved my life, Judy Lynn," he said, his voice low but firm. "You threw yourself into hell for me, a girl in a wheelchair facing rebels alone. From this day forward, you're my goddaughter." His words, heavy with authority, pierced Judy's haze of pain. She blinked, her heart swelling with an unfamiliar warmth. "Someone sees me," she thought, her mind grappling with the weight of his promise not as a burden but as a hero. Logan, Elias's loyal bodyguard, stood nearby, his face etched with the grief of losing his brother to rebels years ago. "The commander hasn't stopped talking about your courage," he said, his voice thick with respect. "You held off those bastards long enough for us to reach Zack's base." Judy managed a weak nod, her thoughts drifting to the cave where she had donned Elias's uniform, drawing enemy fire. The memory of her defiance firing Logan's pistol despite her inexperience stirred pride within her. "I proved I'm more than their victim," she reflected, picturing James, Michael, and Emily, who had neglected their duties to rehearse at the cultural troop. Elias's face darkened as he sat beside her, his hand resting on the bed rail. "Your brother James is a regimental commander," he said, his tone sharp. "Michael's the head physician here. They were assigned to protect me, yet they were nowhere near the ambush. Where were they, Judy?" She swallowed, the truth bitter on her tongue. "With Emily," she murmured, "at the cultural troop rehearsing her play." Elias's jaw tightened, his eyes flashing with fury. "And he rehearsed while rebels nearly killed me," he growled. "Logan summoned them. Now." Logan nodded and left his boots echoing in the hall. Judy's chest tightened, memories of her past life flooding back. James, ambitious and cold, had prioritized Emily's performance over duty, earning glory for saving Elias while condemning Judy. Michael, once her closest friend, had sabotaged her leg treatment to favor Emily, whose sabotage had crippled Judy 5 years ago. She thought they chose her over everything, her heart aching but resolute. "But I decided Elias, and that changes everything." As minutes passed, Logan returned, his expression grim. "Sir James and Michael won't come," he reported. "They're at the Lynn house tending to Emily. Said she sprained her ankle during rehearsal." Elias slammed his fist on the bed rail, his face reddening. "A sprain," he roared. "Their sister lies here shot to pieces, and they're bandaging a sprain." Judy's breath caught the sting of her family's indifference sharper than her wounds. She had expected their neglect, yet it cut deeper in this moment of vulnerability. Elias turned to her, his anger softening into concern. "Judy, you're not alone anymore," he said, his voice steady. "As my goddaughter, you have my protection. Rest now. I'll deal with them." Judy's eyes stung with unshed tears, the weight of his words anchoring her. "I've been invisible to my family for years," she thought, recalling how her parents had stolen her college admission for Emily, how James had dismissed her pain, how Michael had betrayed her trust. "But Elias sees me. That's enough for now." A nurse adjusted Judy's IV, and the hum of the hospital ground her. She glanced at Elias, his stern face a promise of justice. Logan, standing sentinel, met her gaze with a nod, his loyalty to Elias now extending to her. The absence of James and Michael prioritizing Emily's minor injury starkly contrasts with the bond forming here. Judy vowed they'll answer for their choices, her resolve hardening despite her fading strength. Her body was broken, but her spirit soared, buoyed by a new family forged in the crucible of war. As sleep pulled at her, Judy's thoughts turned to the future. The hospital's walls, though cold, felt like a sanctuary, a place where her sacrifice had earned her a voice. She was no longer the forgotten daughter, the disabled performer. She was Judy Lynn, goddaughter of Elias, and her fight was far from over. In the heart of Arvia's turmoil, a new chapter began where justice would find those who had wronged her. The military hospital in Eldon hummed with quiet tension, its fluorescent lights casting stark shadows across Judy Lynn's bandaged form. The summer heat 1975 pressed against the windows, a reminder of the ongoing civil war tearing Arvia apart. Judy, 22 and wheelchair-bound, lay in her hospital bed, her body aching from gunshot wounds sustained while saving Commander Elias. Her shoulder, arm, and abdomen were swathed in gauze, each throb a testament to her reborn mission. In her past life, her brother James, childhood friend Michael, and adopted sister Emily had betrayed her, mutilating her for imagined slights. Now, as she clung to the fragile hope of Elias's promise to be her godfather, the shadows of her family's cruelty loomed larger. Commander Elias sat by her side, his chest wound bandaged, his stern face softened with concern. His declaration that Judy was his goddaughter had ignited a spark of belonging she hadn't felt in years. Logan, his loyal bodyguard, stood near the door, his grief for his fallen brother fueling his vigilance. Judy's thoughts swirled, her pride in saving Elias tempered by the sting of her family's absence. James, a regimental commander, and Michael, the hospital's head physician, had ignored Elias's summons, choosing to tend to Emily's sprained ankle at the Lynn house. Judy thought they'd always chosen her, her heart heavy but resolute. "But I'm done being invisible." The hospital room's door burst open, and Judy's parents, Margaret and Thomas Lynn, stormed in, their faces twisted with accusation. Margaret's eyes narrowed, her voice sharp. "Judy Lynn, how dare you cause a scene while Emily's hurt?" she snapped. Thomas, his fists clenched, stepped closer, his voice booming. "You sent soldiers to drag Michael away from Emily's side. Are you trying to kill her?" Before Judy could respond, Thomas slapped her across the face, the sting sharp against her pale cheek. Pain flared, but Judy's gaze remained steady, her resolve hardened by years of neglect. Elias rose, his presence commanding, but Judy raised a hand, signaling him to wait. "I need to face them," she thought, her voice finding strength. "She said I nearly died saving Elias," her tone calm but cutting. "Shot in the arm, shoulder, and abdomen." "Where were you, mother, father? With Emily over a sprained ankle?" Margaret scoffed, crossing her arms. "Emily's delicate, Judy. She needs us. You're tough, you'll survive." Thomas nodded, his eyes cold. "You've always been jealous, fighting for attention. Emily's family saved our lives. We owe her." Judy's chest tightened, memories flooding back. 5 years ago, Emily, adopted to honor her martyr parents, had pushed Judy down the stairs to steal her role in the cultural troop Arvia's morale-boosting unit. The fall, worsened by Michael's deliberate medical sabotage, left Judy crippled. Her parents, blinded by their debt to Emily's family, had forced Judy to relinquish her college admission, using her wages to fund Emily's education. "I worked until I collapsed," Judy recalled, her eyes burning. "And they slapped me for outscoring her. Emily crippled me," Judy said, her voice steady. "She pushed me down those stairs. Michael made sure I'd never walk again. You knew, and you did nothing." Margaret's face flushed with denial. "Lies, Emily's a saint. You're just bitter, always competing." Thomas pointed at her, his voice rising. "You're ungrateful, Judy. We gave you a home and you repay us with drama. Judy's heart ached, but her resolve held. They'll never see me. She realized her pain giving way to clarity. But I see them now, cowards hiding behind a debt. Elias's patience snapped. Enough, he roared, stepping forward. Your daughter saved my life, took bullets for me while you coddle a girl who's no martyr's child. Logan, arrest them for assaulting my goddaughter. Logan moved swiftly, his face grim, handcuffing Margaret and Thomas as they protested. You can't do this, Thomas shouted. Our son's a commander. Elias's eyes were steel. Not for long, he said. James and Michael will answer for their negligence. Judy's under my protection now. As Logan led her parents away, Judy exhaled the weight of their betrayal, lifting slightly. She thought I'd carried their lies for too long, her gaze meeting Elias's. Thank you, sir, she whispered, her voice thick with gratitude. Elias nodded, his hand gentle on her shoulder. Rest, Judy. You're not alone anymore. The hospital's hum faded, replaced by a quiet strength within her. James, Michael, and Emily still lurked, their influence a shadow, but Judy's bond with Elias was a light. They'll face justice, she vowed, her spirit unyielding in Arvia's storm. The military hospital in Eldon stood as a bastion of order amidst the chaos of Arvia's civil war, its sterile corridors echoing with the weight of July 1975. Judy Lynn, 22 and confined to a wheelchair, lay in her hospital bed, her body bandaged from gunshot wounds sustained while saving Commander Elias. The pain in her arm, shoulder, and abdomen was a constant reminder of her reborn mission to defy the betrayals of her past life, where her brother James, childhood friend Michael, and adopted sister Emily had mutilated and killed her, blaming her for Emily's death. Now, with her parents arrested for assaulting her, Judy's heart held a fragile hope anchored by Elias's vow to protect her as his goddaughter. Commander Elias, his chest wound healing, stood by Judy's bed, his grizzled face a mask of resolve. His strategic brilliance had kept the Loyalist army strong, and his new role as Judy's protector fueled his determination. Logan, his bodyguard, whose loyalty was forged in the grief of losing his brother to rebels, stood guard at the door. Judy's thoughts churned, her parents' accusations calling her jealous, ungrateful, still stinging. They've always chosen Emily, she thought, her resolve hardening. But Elias sees the truth. I'm not alone anymore. Logan stepped forward, his voice low but urgent. Sir, we've found something, he said, holding a small metallic device, a telegraph machine, its wires coiled like a snake. It was hidden under Emily's bed at the Lynn house and used to send Morse code. Elias's eyes narrowed, his hand tightening on the bed rail. Morse code, he said. That's not standard for civilians. Explain. Logan's face was grim. We captured 6 rebels during the ambush. They confessed a female spy leaked your patrol route via Morse code. This machine matches their description. Judy's breath caught, her mind racing. Emily, adopted to honor her martyr parents, had always been manipulative, pushing Judy down the stairs 5 years ago to steal her role in the cultural troop, Arvia's morale-boosting unit. Michael's sabotage ensured that Judy's legs never healed a betrayal that her parents ignored. But this spy, Judy thought, her heart pounding. Emily orchestrated the ambush. She recalled Emily's insistence that she buy a goose in Eldon, luring her near the ambush site. She wanted me there to die or take the blame. Elias turned to Judy, his voice steady but cold. Your adopted sister's no martyr's child, he said. We checked her records. The honest Emily Lynn died 5 years ago, sick with fever. Her blood type was A, but Emily's hospital file says B. She's an imposter trained by rebels to infiltrate your family. He held up a cremation certificate, its ink stark against the paper. She used your parents' debt to worm her way in close to James's regiment to leak our plans. Judy's mind reeled, the pieces snapping into place. In her past life, James had executed the rebels, leaving no survivors to confess, and Michael had burned Emily's belongings, claiming grief. They covered for her, she realized, her chest tightening with fury. They knew, or they were fools. She looked at Elias, her voice steady despite the pain. She sent me to Eldon that day, saying Mother needed a goose. It was a setup to kill you or me. Elias nodded, his eyes fierce. She'll face justice, Judy. I've ordered a full investigation. Her lies end here. Logan's face darkened, his loyalty to Elias unwavering. We're searching the cultural troop's records too, he said. Emily's fall during rehearsal staged. No one pushed her. She jumped to distract James and Michael from their duties. Judy's heart sank, the depth of Emily's deception overwhelming. She played us all, she thought, her resolve sharpening. But I survived her trap. I'll see her fall. Elias placed a hand on Judy's shoulder. his touch grounding. "You're my goddaughter now," he said. "No one will hurt you again. Rest will handle this." Judy nodded, her eyes stinging with gratitude. "I was invisible for so long," she reflected, her spirit lifting. "Now I'm seen and the truth is breaking free." The hospital's hum faded, replaced by a quiet strength. James and Michael, still with Emily, would soon face the consequences of their blindness. In Arvia's war-torn heart, Judy's fight for justice was gaining ground, and the light of truth pierced the shadows of betrayal. The military hospital in Eldon thrummed with tension, its sterile walls a fragile barrier against the chaos of Arvia's civil war in July 1975. Judy Lynn, 22 and wheelchair-bound, lay in her hospital bed, her body bandaged from gunshot wounds sustained while saving Commander Elias. Her arm, shoulder, and abdomen ached, but her spirit burned with resolve, fueled by her reborn mission to defy the betrayals of her past life. In that life, her brother James, childhood friend Michael, and adopted sister Emily had mutilated and killed her, blaming her for Emily's death. Now, with Emily exposed as a rebel spy and Judy's parents arrested, Judy faced a new confrontation, her heart steeled by Elias's vow to protect her as his goddaughter. Commander Elias stood by her side, his chest wound, healing his presence, a pillar of authority. Logan, his bodyguard, whose loyalty was shaped by losing his brother to rebels, guarded the door. Judy's thoughts churned. The revelation of Emily's deception, a telegraph machine found under her bed, her identity as an imposter was still raw. "She played us all," Judy thought, her resolve hardening. "But James and Michael chose her, over me, over duty. They'll face the truth now." The hospital room's door slammed open and James and Michael stormed in, their faces twisted with fury. James, a regimental commander whose ambition had long overshadowed his loyalty, pointed at Judy, his voice venomous. "You little snake," he snarled. "You reported us to Elias and got us suspended, all because Emily took your spot in the cultural troop." He lunged, slapping Judy across the face, the sting sharp against her bandaged cheek. Pain flared, but Judy's gaze remained steady, her heart unyielding. Michael, the head physician whose betrayal had worsened Judy's leg injury, kicked her bed, his eyes blazing. "Stop playing the victim, Judy," he shouted. "You're faking these wounds to guilt us, to ruin my career." His words echoed their past accusations when they had mutilated her, claiming she was jealous of Emily. Judy's chest tightened, memories of Michael's sabotage drugs that ensured her legs never healed flooding back. "They still can't see me," she thought, her pain giving way to clarity. "But I see them blind, selfish, complicit. Diving by losing his father to rebels." Lieutenant Commander Zach stepped forward, his calm authority cutting through the chaos. "Enough," he barked, grabbing James's wrist as he raised his hand again. "She's a patient shot saving Elias. Show some respect." James froze, his eyes darting to Judy's bandages, blood seeping through the gauze. For a moment, doubt flickered in his gaze. "What happened to you?" he muttered, his voice unsteady. Michael, however, scoffed, pointing at Zach. "She's got you fooled too, playing hero to steal my place with Emily." Judy's voice cut through their rage, calm but razor-sharp. "She said I took bullets for Elias while you rehearsed with your spy. Emily's no martyr's daughter, she's a rebel imposter who leaked his plans. And you, Michael, ruined my legs to keep me from the cultural troop to protect her." She leaned forward, her eyes locking with his. "You saw my x-rays, knew I could have walked again, but you gave me drugs to cripple me. Please don't call me a liar when you hide guilt." James's face paled, his arrogance cracking. "You're just a girl," he stammered. "How'd you get shot up like that?" Judy's lips curved in a faint, bitter smile. "Because I did your job, James. You were supposed to protect Elias, but you chose Emily's play." Michael's gaze flickered, his confidence wavering, but he doubled down. "You're paranoid, Judy. No proof, just stories." Judy's resolve surged, her voice steady. "I don't need their belief," she thought. "I know the truth, and Elias does too." Zach's eyes burned with admiration for Judy's strength. "Her wounds are real," he said, his voice firm. "Check her records. She's a hero, not a fraud." Elias, silent until now, stepped forward, his presence commanding. "James, Michael, you neglected your duty," he said, his voice cold. "Judy saved my life while you chased glory with a traitor. You'll answer for it." Judy's heart lifted, her pain easing under Elias's protection. "I'm not their sister anymore," she realized, her spirit soaring. "I'm Elias's goddaughter, and my fight is just beginning." As James and Michael stood frozen, their accusations crumbling, Judy's thoughts turned to Emily, still lurking, her deception a shadow over them all. The hospital's sterile hum was a backdrop to her resolve, a promise that justice was closing in. In Arvia's war-torn heart, Judy Lynn was no longer a victim. She was a force ready to confront the past and shape her future. The military hospital in Eldon was a fortress of calm amidst Arvia's civil war, its sterile halls a stark contrast to the turmoil of July 1975. Judy Lynn, 22 and wheelchair-bound, lay in her hospital bed, her body aching from gunshot wounds sustained while saving Commander Elias. Her arm, shoulder, and abdomen swathed in bandages bore the cost of her reborn mission to defy the betrayals of her past life, where her brother James, childhood friend Michael, and adopted sister Emily had mutilated and killed her, blaming her for Emily's death. Now, with Emily exposed as a rebel spy and Judy's parents arrested, Judy faced her betrayers, her heart steeled by Elias's vow to protect her as his goddaughter. Commander Elias stood by her side, his chest wound, healing his authoritative presence a shield. Logan, his bodyguard, whose loyalty was forged in losing his brother to rebels, stood vigilant. Judy's thoughts burned with clarity, the sting of James's slap and Michael's accusations still fresh. She thought they called me a liar, a fraud, and her resolve was unwavering. But I know the truth, and I'm done begging for their love. Emily's deception, posing as a martyr's daughter to infiltrate their family, had unraveled, yet James and Michael clung to their denial. The door creaked open and Emily stumbled in, her face pale, her frail frame trembling as if a breeze could break her. Her eyes, wet with tears, darted between James and Michael, who rushed to her side, their faces softening. "Emily, you shouldn't be here," James said, his voice gentle, a stark contrast to his earlier rage. "You're hurt." Emily clutched his arm, her voice quivering. "I heard Judy was here and you were fighting. It's my fault she's angry. I took her role in the cultural troop." She turned to Judy, tears spilling. "I'm sorry, Judy. I'll leave. Give it all back." Judy's gaze hardened, seeing through Emily's act. She's playing them just like always, she thought, recalling how Emily had pushed her downstairs 5 years ago, crippling her to steal her place in Arvia's morale-boosting cultural troop. "Enough," Judy said, her voice cold and steady. "You're no martyr's daughter, Emily. You're a spy who leaked Elias's plans. And you too," she pointed at James and Michael, enabled her. "James, you ignored your duty. Michael, you sabotaged my legs to keep me down for her." James's face flushed, his voice rising. "You're still family, Judy. You ate our food, wore our clothes. How dare you cut us off?" Michael jumped in, his eyes narrowed. "You're jealous because I love Emily, not you. Stop dragging Zach into your schemes." Lieutenant Commander Zach, driven by his father's death to rebel, stepped forward, his voice firm. "Her wounds are real, Michael. Check her records. She's a hero, not a schemer." Judy's heart lifted at Zach's defense, her resolve strengthening. "I don't need their approval," she thought. "I have Elias, Zach, and Logan." "Family," Judy said, her voice sharp. "Every meal I ate, I earned working while you took my wages for Emily's tuition. My clothes, her hand-me-downs, my college admission stolen for her. My legs ruined by you, Michael, with drugs to keep me from the stage." She leaned forward, her eyes blazing. "I'm done. From this moment, we're strangers. Please don't come near me again." Her words silenced the room, her declaration a blade cutting through years of pain. "I'm free," she realized, her spirit soaring. "Their lies can't hold me anymore." James's arrogance cracked his eyes, darting to Judy's bandages. "You're serious," he stammered. Michael, shaken, muttered, "You've got no proof." Emily sobbed louder, her voice trembling. "She's lying, James. She hid fake blood to stage this to turn you against me." Judy's lips curved in a faint smile. "Fake blood. Tell that to the bullets in my body, Emily. Or the telegraph machine under your bed." Zach's gaze hardened, his admiration for Judy clear. "She's telling the truth," he said. "Elias has the evidence." Elias's voice cut through, cold and final. "Your time's up," he said to James and Michael. "You neglected your duty and enabled a spy. You'll face a tribunal." Judy's heart pounded, her resolve unshaken. They'll pay for their blindness, she thought, her eyes fixed on Emily, whose tears hid a darker truth. The hospital's hum was a backdrop to her liberation, the weight of her family's betrayal lifting. In Arvia's war-torn heart, Judy Lynn stood tall, no longer a victim, but a warrior. Her ties severed her path clear for justice. The military hospital in Eldon stood as a fragile sanctuary amidst the turmoil of Arvia's civil war, its sterile halls heavy with the weight of July 1975. Judy Lynn, 22, and confined to a wheelchair, lay in her hospital bed, her body scarred by gunshot wounds from saving Commander Elias. Her arm, shoulder, and abdomen ached, but but her spirit burned with resolve forged by her reborn mission to defy the betrayals of her past life. In that life, her brother James' childhood friend Michael and adopted sister Emily had mutilated and killed her, blaming her for Emily's death. With Emily exposed as a rebel spy, Judy's parents arrested and ties severed with her betrayers, Judy faced a final reckoning, her heart anchored by Elias's vow to protect her as his goddaughter. Commander Elias, his chest wound nearly healed, stood beside Judy, his grizzled face a mask of authority. Logan, his bodyguard, whose loyalty was shaped by losing his brother to rebels, stood vigilant. Lieutenant Commander Zach, driven by his father's death to rebel, watched Judy with quiet admiration. Judy's thoughts were sharp, Emily's manipulative tears and James's accusations still echoing. "I've cut them out," she thought, her resolve unwavering. But Emily's lies run deeper. "This ends now." Elias held up a folder, his voice cold. "James Michael, your sister is no martyr's daughter," he said, tossing the papers to the floor. "The honest Emily Lynn died 5 years ago, fever-stricken. Her cremation certificate proves it blood type A. Your Emily's records show blood type B. She's a rebel spy trained to infiltrate your family to leak my plans." He pointed to the telegraph machine Logan had found. This was under her bed, used to signal the ambush. James's face paled, his ambition crumbling. Michael's eyes darted, his confidence cracking. Trembling in the doorway, Emily clutched James's arm, her voice frail. "They're lying, James. Judy framed me." But her facade shattered as Elias continued. "Your staged fall at the Cultural Troop, Emily. A distraction to keep James and Michael from their duties. You lured Judy to Eldon to die in the ambush." Judy's heart raced, recalling Emily's insistence on the errand. She planned it all, she realized, her fury rising. To kill Elias, to frame me, to keep her cover. Before anyone could react, Emily's mask fell. Her eyes gleamed with malice, and she yanked a hidden pistol from her dress, aiming at Elias's back. "You're coming with me if I'm going down," she snarled. Judy, without hesitation, shoved her wheelchair forward, pushing Elias aside. "Commander, look out!" she shouted. 2 gunshots rang out the hospital room, erupting in chaos. Judy braced for pain, but none came. She opened her eyes, trembling, to see Emily collapse, blood pouring from her chest. Zach, his pistol smoking, stood beside Judy, his face pale with fear. "You okay, Judy?" he asked, his voice steady despite the tension. Emily, gasping, laughed maniacally, her voice venomous. "You fools worshipped me, a stranger, while crushing your sister," she spat, her eyes fixed on James and Michael. "I seduced you, used you, and you believed every lie. Pathetic." Her laughter choked as blood bubbled from her lips, her body stilling. James fell to his knees, cradling her, his voice broken. "Emily, no." Michael, shaking, pressed his hands to her wound, pleading, "Commander, she's still alive. Let me save her." But Elias's face was stone. "She's a spy," he said. "Her crimes end here." Judy's heart pounded, her resolve unshaken. "She's gone, and her lies with her," she thought, her gaze steady. "But they still don't see me," James sobbed. "We thought she was family," Michael, tears streaming, muttered. "I loved her." Judy's voice cut through, cold and clear. "You loved a traitor who crippled me and stole my future. You ignored my wounds, my truth. I owe you nothing." Zach's hand rested on her shoulder, his admiration clear. "I'm not alone," Judy realized, her spirit soaring. "I've fought for my place and I've won." Elias's voice boomed. "Logan, take them to the tribunal. Their negligence and complicity end now." As James and Michael were led away, their pleas unanswered, Judy exhaled, the weight of betrayal lifting. In Arvia's war-torn heart, she was no longer a victim, but a survivor, her courage a beacon against the shadows of deceit. The military hospital in Eldon stood as a quiet stronghold amidst the storm of Arvia's civil war, its sterile corridors heavy with the weight of justice in July 1975. Judy Lynn, 22 and wheelchair-bound, rested in her hospital bed, her body scarred by gunshot wounds from saving Commander Elias. Her arm, shoulder, and abdomen throbbed, but her spirit was unshaken, forged by her reborn mission to overcome the betrayals of her past life. In that life, her brother James' childhood friend, Michael, and adopted sister Emily had mutilated and killed her, blaming her for Emily's death. Now, with Emily exposed and dead as a rebel spy, and Judy's parents arrested, Judy faced the final reckoning, her heart anchored by Elias's vow to protect her as his goddaughter. Commander Elias, his chest wound nearly healed, stood by her side, his grizzled face resolute. Logan, his bodyguard, whose loyalty was shaped by losing his brother to rebels, stood sentinel. Lieutenant Commander Zach, driven by his father's death to rebel, watched Judy with quiet respect. Judy's thoughts were clear, the chaos of Emily's final attack. Her pistol aimed at Elias, her manic laughter still vivid. She's gone, and her lies with her Judy reflected her resolve unwavering. Now James and Michael faced the consequences. A week later, the military tribunal convened in Eldon's Loyalist headquarters, its stark room filled with officers. James, once a regimental commander, and Michael, the former head physician, stood before the panel, their faces pale. Elias presented the evidence, the telegraph machine from Emily's room, rebel confessions, and hospital records proving her imposter status. James Lynn neglected his duty, leaving me to die in an ambush, Elias said, his voice thunderous. Michael Carter sabotaged Judy's treatment, crippling her further to favor a spy. Their actions endangered Arvia's defense. James, his ambition shattered, dropped to his knees, his voice breaking. "Judy, I was blind," he sobbed. "I thought Emily was family. I ignored you, hurt you. Please forgive me." Michael, his medical license in jeopardy, joined him, tears streaming. "I was fooled, Judy. I loved her, not you, but I didn't mean to harm you. For our childhood, please give me a chance." Their pleas echoed, but Judy's gaze was cold. "They're not sorry for me," she thought, her heart steady. "They're scared of losing everything." Judy leaned forward, her voice calm but cutting. "You chose a traitor over me," she said. "James, you let Emily's lies cloud your duty. Michael, you ruined my legs with drugs knowing I could have walked. You called my wounds fake and ignored my pain. Your apologies are empty. You beg for yourselves, not me." She paused, her eyes locking with theirs. "I'm done. You're no family of mine." Her words, sharp as steel, silenced the room, her rejection final. She realized, "I've carried their guilt too long," her spirit soaring. "I'm free of them now." The tribunal's verdict was swift. James sentenced to 10 years for negligence and assault. Michael stripped of his license and given 2 years for medical malpractice. As Logan led them away, their sobs faded, their futures crumbling. Judy's parents, Margaret and Thomas, were released but came crawling back, their faces etched with shame. "We're blood, Judy," Margaret pleaded, kneeling. "We were wrong about Emily. Care for us in our old age." Thomas nodded, his voice low. "We're sorry, daughter." Judy's heart twinged, but her resolve held. "You chose a spy over your child," she said. "You stole my college dreams, ignored my pain, and slapped me for daring to shine. I owe you nothing." She handed them a small sum of money, her voice firm. "Take this and go. We're done." They left, heads bowed, their figures fading into Eldon's dust. "Blood doesn't bind me anymore," Judy thought, her chest lightening. "I choose my family now." Zach's hand rested on her shoulder, his admiration clear. "You're stronger than they ever knew," he said. Elias nodded, his eyes warm. "Rest, goddaughter. Justice is served." Judy smiled faintly, her spirit unburdened. In Arvia's war-torn heart, she had faced her betrayers and emerged whole, her path clear for a new beginning. The military hospital in Eldon, a beacon of resilience in Arvia's civil war, hummed with quiet purpose as the summer of 1975 faded into autumn. Judy Lynn, 22 and wheelchair-bound, sat by a window, her bandages replaced by scars that told the story of her sacrifice to save Commander Elias. Her arm, shoulder, and abdomen, once torn by rebel bullets, were healing, a testament to her reborn mission. In her past life, her brother James' childhood friend Michael and adopted sister Emily had mutilated and killed her, blaming her for Emily's death. Now, with Emily exposed as a rebel spy, James and Michael sentenced, and her parents severed from her life, Judy stood at the threshold of redemption, her heart lifted by Elias's vow to protect her as his goddaughter. Commander Elias, fully recovered, visited daily, his grizzled face softened by pride. Logan, his bodyguard, whose loyalty was forged by losing his brother to rebels, often joined him, and his respect for Judy was evident. Lieutenant Commander Zach, whose drive stemmed from his father's death at the hands of rebels, had become Judy's quiet anchor, his steady presence a balm to her wounds. Judy reflected that I was reborn to save Elias, gazing at Eldon's war-torn hills. But I saved myself too. Her journey from betrayal to heroism had reshaped her, her spirit no longer bound by her family's lies. A month after the tribunal, Judy underwent surgery to remove the bullet lodged in her abdomen, led by a skilled surgeon Elias had recruited. The operation was a success, and the doctors offered hope with rigorous therapy. Judy might walk again, though her wheelchair remained a symbol of her strength. I don't need to walk to stand tall, she thought, embracing her disability as part of her resilience. She began therapy, her arms pushing through exercises, her determination unwavering. Zack, ever present, encouraged her, his eyes warm with admiration. You're unstoppable, Judy, he said, his voice soft but firm. Their bond deepened, rooted in shared loss and resolve. Zack, who had joined the Loyalists to honor his father, saw courage in Judy that mirrored his own. One evening under Eldon's starlit sky, he knelt by her wheelchair, his hand gentle on hers. Judy, you've faced more than most. Yet you shine, he said. Will you build a life with me? Judy's heart swelled, her past fears fading. Yes, she whispered, her smile genuine, the first unshadowed by pain. She thought he saw me, not my chair, her spirit soaring. They married in a quiet ceremony at the northern military base where Judy moved, embraced by Elias as a strategist in training. His mentorship honed her sharp mind. Her days, once spent toiling for Emily, were now filled with purpose-planning defenses and uplifting soldiers. The base, a hub of loyalist strength, became her home, its camaraderie starkly contrasting to her family's neglect. Judy realized, this is my family now, her heart light as she studied maps with Elias Logan nodding in approval nearby. Word reached her that Michael, released after 2 years, sought her out only to learn of her marriage. His descent into despair, driven by guilt and loss, stirred no pity in Judy. Her parents, shamed by their blind faith in Emily, begged for forgiveness, but Judy's money had been their final tie. I owe them nothing, she thought, her resolve firm. My future is mine. As autumn painted Eldon's hills gold, Judy sat on the base's ramparts, Zack by her side, watching the sunrise. Her wheelchair gleamed, a badge of her survival. I was broken, betrayed, reborn, she mused, her smile radiant. Now I'm whole. In Arvia's war-torn heart, Judy Lynn had forged a new beginning, her courage a beacon of hope, her redemption complete.